Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So it's time for another movie review today, and this one has been a movie I've been long awaiting to review, guys. And today's review, as suggested by my title and these figures I have with me, is none other than Terminator 2 Judgment Day, released in 1991, directed by James Cameron. And guys, I'm going to say right off the bat, straight away, that this movie right here is my favourite action movie of all time. And yeah, I really, really love this movie, guys. I consider it to be one of the best movies of all time, and yet I really adore it. So, yeah. Now, so this movie, guys, was, of course, released in 1991, the second installment of the Terminator franchise, serving as a sequel to the 1994 film, The Terminator. And this film took many different directions to the first movie, because the first movie felt more like a horror movie, in my opinion, and was pretty scary, or did have many elements of the action genre, whereas this movie, however, guys, in my opinion, was way more of an action movie, and yeah, hence why I refer to it as my favourite action movie of all time. So yeah, and in my opinion, the change of genre was nailed perfectly in this movie, and we'll get to why. So yeah, this is an absolutely beautiful movie, guys, in every way, and it definitely deserves to be Arnold Schwarzenegger's highest grossing movie of his career. He truly deserves to have that, yeah. Definitely deserves to be the highest grossing movie of his career, because in my opinion, this movie right here is a masterpiece in every way. So yeah. Now, so let's talk about a bit of a synopsis of the movie, guys. So in this plot, the malevolent artificial intelligence Skynet sends a Terminator, a highly advanced killing machine, back in time to 1995 to kill the future leader of human resistance, John Connor, when he's a child. The Resistance sends back its own reprogrammed Terminator to protect Connor and ensure the future of humanity. So yeah. So on to a good quality movie, guys. So let's talk about the cast first. So guys, returning from the first movie is, of course, the legendary Arnold Schwarzenegger, reprising his role as the title character of Terminator. So yeah, but guys, what I love is how this time he's not playing a villain Terminator, he's instead playing the good Terminator. And I really love that. Yeah, it's a very nice change to a story, and yeah, the trailers unfortunately did spoil that he'd be a good guy this time, not a villain, but yeah, it definitely, the change from villain to hero worked perfectly, in my opinion, and yeah, and I consider the Terminator to be Arnold Schwarzenegger's best role of all time, yeah. And I can't imagine any actor playing the Terminator better than Arnie at all. Like, in my opinion, he was perfectly cast as the Terminator in the first two films, absolutely. He just nailed the role. And I like how he got more to do, where he of course has more lines, so yeah, because the Terminator interacts way more with human characters this time, whereas in the first one, I think he only had about 14 lines, so yeah. And he had so many awesome moments, and also many iconic, memorable quotes. I mean, because returning to the first movie, he does say the famous line, "I'll be back." And yeah, probably his most iconic line of his career. And also his first line in the movie, where he says, "I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle." Very iconic line, in my opinion. And another example of a memorable quote, guys, is definitely a quote which John teaches Terminator to say, which is, "Hasta la vista, baby." And yeah, I just really love that quote. It's so badass and really cool. And I like how it says it later when it shoots the T-1000 when it's frozen liquid nitrogen. That's such a really cool quote, guys. Yeah, I really love that quote very much. Like, in my opinion, guys, this movie, while the first movie is a masterpiece, this movie does everything better than the first movie. And many things are way more memorable, in my opinion. You know, this is a movie that I remember most when I'm talking about Terminator, guys. So, yeah. And another good quote I will say, guys, is I also really adored Linda Hamilton's performance as Sarah Connor. Like, it was this movie that made Sarah Connor one of my favourite female characters in cinematic history of all time. Because I really love her development, where in the first movie she begins as an innocent waitress who is brought into this drama being hunted, and she's afraid. But then in this movie, she has trained herself to be a fearless warrior, pretty much, yeah. And in this movie, Sarah Connor was such a badass and really awesome. And yeah, Linda Hamilton was really dedicated to her role. I did love that very much. And she did such an amazing job in this movie, playing her. Like, I consider Sarah Connor to be her best role, no doubt. And she's on my list of favorite actresses of all time as well. Yeah, she's an absolutely brilliant actress, in my opinion. And yeah, and she nailed the role. And yeah, unfortunately, on the set, she did unfortunately become deaf in one of her ears due to a large sound going off too close to her ear. But yeah, But nonetheless, for Linda Hamilton, just nailed the role in my opinion, and she gave such a very believable performance as well, absolutely. And yeah, like, she does such a phenomenal job playing Sarah. I also, as well, did also really love Edward Furlong as John Connor when he's a child. Like, I consider Ed Furlong to be the best John Connor of all time, absolutely. He did a really phenomenal job playing John. He certainly did. Probably one of my favourite performances by a child actor of all time, actually, guys. Yeah, because he really nailed it. Like, wow. And what a great performance he did in this movie. Like, very realistic, very believable. He just nailed it. Perfectly cast as John, in my opinion. And yeah, he had so many great scenes. I've also got to give high praise to Michael Edwards, who plays John Connor when he's an adult in the future. Like, he looked so awesome in the role, despite having no lines. He looked really amazing in the role, and yeah. It's a shame he didn't play him ever again, isn't it, sadly, but yeah. He was still really amazing in the role. And now let's also talk about, as well, another memorable thing, guys, being the villain, which is the famous character being the T-1000, played by the legendary Robert Patrick. Like, I consider T-1000 to be the best Terminator villain of all time. You know, like, Robert Patrick absolutely nailed the role, in my opinion, guys. And, like, he's such a phenomenal job playing him. He really did. And I like how they made the villain way more deadly than the first villain this time, because the first villain was a normal T-800 Terminator, whereas this time it's a more powerful villain who is made out of polyalloy liquid metal. And I really love that change. And yeah, he was a very deadly villain. Probably the deadliest villain in the franchise, in my opinion. And yeah, I consider this to be Robert Patrick's best role as well, guys. Like, I can't imagine any actor playing the T-1000 better than Robert Patrick, in my opinion. Like, he just really nailed the role. Like, what a great job he did as a T-1000. And yeah. And I also, as well, love the return of Earl Bowen as Dr. Silberman as well. I like how he got a bigger role in this movie compared to the first one, because he only had, like, about a couple of scenes in the first one where he's interviewing Sarah and Kyle. But yeah, I like how in this movie he is, you know, at the mental hospital looking after Sarah and, like, you know, talking to her. And yeah, and he's still unfortunate. He does not believe about the future, sadly. But yeah, I think he definitely began to believe when he saw a T-1000 walk through a door. So yeah, And he was great in the role, and yeah. And what's cool about Earl Bowen, guys, is he's the only actor besides Arnie to appear in all three of the first three Terminator movies. So yeah, all of them three is just a cameo appearance, but yeah. But I like him most in this movie, to be honest, guys. I thought he was great in this movie, and it was great to see him return. And like, I think the scene where he's interrogating Sarah and she rages and gets really angry is probably one of her best moments, in my opinion, guys. And yeah. And I also, as well, did love the addition of Joel Morton as Miles Dyson, who is the director of special projects at Cyberdyne, whose research will lead to the forming of Skynet. And I really liked his performance in this movie. He did a really great job playing Miles, and I consider this to be Joel Morton's best role. There's other great roles he played, such as Crux in Of Mice and Men, and also as Silas Thorne in the Extended Universe, and also as Houston Brooks in his one scene in Godzilla King of Monsters, and many other great roles he's been in as well, like in Speed as well. But I think this is probably his best role. It's really introducing him as an actor, guys, and I really loved his performance in this movie as Miles Dyson. Did a really great job. And yeah, we even got an appearance as well by Jeanette Goldstein and Xander Berkeley playing John Connor's foster parents, Janelle and Todd Voight. And yeah, really cool. And this was, of course, one of Jeanette Goldstein's collaborations with James Cameron, because she was previously in Aliens as Vasquez, which is pretty cool. And yeah. And Xander Berkeley, I'll know later, for being on The Walking Dead as Gregory, and also many voice acting projects he's been in. So yeah, and also in Taken as well. Now, as well as the cast, guys, as well, I also really want to talk about as well other good qualities. So I also really love the visual effects, guys, and I gotta say, right, for a movie which is nearly 31 years old, I consider like, you wouldn't believe it was 31 years old based on the effects, because in my opinion, the visual effects are so timeless. Like, a major example is probably the practical effects, because they're really brilliant in this movie. And I also really love all the effects they use for the T-1000, because, like, the way they show the liquid metal, it's just amazing what we were able to do with that. They just nailed it. It was brilliant what we did with the liquid metal. Like, it was so impressive. Like, hard to believe it's nearly 31 years old, this movie, guys. Like, that's just absolutely incredible. And the action scenes are also really amazing to watch. Definitely very memorable. Like, one of my favorite parts of the movie, guys, is definitely the chase scene from the Galleria onto the Los Angeles storm drain. Like, that was epic, guys. And yeah, I remember watching this movie when I was very young, guys. It's probably one of the best ones I've ever seen because it was so epic, guys. I really loved it. And yeah, and the opening scene where the Terminator gets the clothes from one of those barmen who's smoking a cigar. That's also one of the best moments, in my opinion, guys. It's a really awesome scene. I really loved it very much. And there's also the great scene where he steps out of a bar wearing the outfit and we hear Bad to a Bone playing. Yeah, very great song, really fitting the scene very well. And yeah. And Arnie looks just so cool in the costume. Like, I consider this to be his best costume, in my opinion, guys, when he's played the Terminator. Although his one have been pretty good as well, but I think this is probably his best costume, in my opinion. And yeah. I also, as well, really adored Brad Fiddel's music score. I think it's definitely a big step up compared to the first movie score. I'm not saying the first movie score was, not good. I thought it was good, but in my opinion, he did way better music in this. Like, especially the main theme, guys, in the opening and the credits. Like, very great, iconic theme. One of the best themes of all time, in my opinion, guys. And also, as well, many other things he composed too. Really great, especially with T-1000's theme when he's chasing as well. Like, really amazing. And yeah. Now, while I did say that this movie tries to be more of an action movie than a horror movie, there is, however, some scenes, guys, which do scare me, probably to this day. Like, for example, the opening scene where it shows children in a playground and then the nuclear bomb goes off. It was like a giant flash and then it shows skeletons. Yeah, that's pretty creepy and eerie to look at. And then, probably another scary part, in my opinion, guys, is probably Sarah Connor's nightmare she has, which motivates her to go and hunt down Miles Dyson. Because when I saw the movie for the first time, guys, when I was really young, it really scared me seeing, the nuclear bomb go off and then, burning and, people turn into skeletons. Oh, my God, it was horrendous, really, for a young person like me to see. But when I look back at it now, guys, I can definitely understand what they were trying to do. They definitely did a very good job with the execution of it. And, yeah, because it motivated Sarah to want to continue hunting those responsible for causing the creation of Skynet. And, yeah. And I also, as well, guys, now, if you're wondering which version of the movie I prefer, guys, I personally would prefer the director's cut of the movie, like the extended edition, for many reasons. Why? Being because they add many more scenes. For example, guys, I love how before, I think it's before Galleria scene, we get a pretty cool scene where we get to see Kyle return as a hallucination to Sarah and Michael Biehn reprise his role as him. That was a really great scene, guys, and then we get another dream scene of the playground, and yeah, different to the one, of course, in the movie later, and yeah. And I also, as well, guys, love the scene in the director's cut as well, which shows the Terminator learning to smile, but it goes a bit wrong because he smiles, way too much, like this. When he's supposed to be, trying to, do the way he's trying to copy the person, but yeah, it doesn't work for John, and yeah. And I also, as well, like how we also included a scene where the T-1000 breaks into John's house to search, and yeah, it was pretty cool to see, and yeah. Speaking of him being in the house, another scene that scared me when I was a kid was when it was revealed that he'd killed Janelle and was impersonating her, and then he killed Todd using one of his knives, and yeah, very shocking scene in my opinion, guys. Yeah. But as a fun fact, guys, the scene where the Terminator speaks to her via impersonating John on his voice, that's the only scene in the movie, guys, where the T-1000 and the T-800 actually talk to each other. Because when they're fighting, they don't say a word to each other. So yeah, this is because, guys, Terminators their actions speak louder than words. So yeah, and I do love that feature of them. When it comes to other parts of the extended edition, guys, there's also a pretty cool scene as well, guys, showing that after the scene where the T-1000 is frozen to liquid nitrogen, and then he gets shot down, but luckily he restores himself so he can continue his hunt. It's revealed he's glitching, guys. Something which was not in the theatrical version, which I do love the addition of, because it's a nice little detail, and yeah. And also, there's also another pretty cool scene, guys, where they extend the scene, where the T-1000 impersonates Sarah to try and get John into a trap by the smelters, and it tries to lure him towards it, but Sarah shows up behind and shoots it. I like how in the extended cut it shows underneath that the legs are like, melting, and yeah, because of the glitch due to it glitching after the liquid nitrogen incident. So yeah, I'm glad the extended edition showed that. It was pretty cool to see. Really good. And also, guys, Another highlight of the extended cut, in my opinion, is also the scene where Sarah and John perform surgery on the T-100 involving removing its CPU. Because it shows that Sarah is still not trusting the Terminator despite it being on their side. I did love that, as it was great development for her character. I did love that scene as well. Really great to see. And yeah. And so yeah. And another good quality I will say, guys, as well, is also when it comes to the ending, in my opinion, guys, it's one of the most emotional endings of all time in movie history. So yeah. Because it ends with the T-1000 being defeated by being shot down by the Terminator with his grenade launcher, and then it falls into a smelter and melts away. Which also visually was also great for its time as well, guys. How it shows it showing its previous victims, and before it melts away into destruction. So yeah. And after John tosses away the arm and the CPU of the first Terminator, which Miles has been keeping for research, the T-800 explains that its own CPU must be destroyed in order to ensure Cyberdyne cannot use it to reverse engineer Skynet. And yeah, it's also a very heartbreaking scene, guys, in my opinion, because John doesn't want it to go. Even when it's ordered it not to go, the T-800 says it has to go. And yeah, and Sarah has to lower it down into a smelter so it can be submerged, so it can melt away. And yeah. Very heartbreaking scene in my opinion, guys, and especially the music called Farewell by Brad Fiedel. Oh wow, it's such powerful emotional music in my opinion. It's so sad to listen to. And yeah, and especially when John hugs the Terminator as well, that's really sad as well, and how it shakes hands with Sarah. Like, that's probably a sign that Sarah now finally does trust for Terminator as being on their side at last. So yeah, did like that. And yeah, very sad scene in my opinion, guys, and yeah, and to this day, guys, that scene still makes me tear up upset. So yeah, it's just a very sad scene, guys. And yeah, and I like how as it's being lowered down, the T-800 gives John a thumbs up. So yeah, it's just, you know, such a sad scene, guys, and probably one of the most heartbreaking moments in cinematic history. But it had to be done, guys, because if the Terminator didn't terminate itself, you know, with help with Sarah, then the Cyberdyne will probably find it and use its CPU for research, which would allow Skynet to continue. So yeah, so by doing that, they basically put Skynet out of existence, guys. So yeah, and you know, and also, guys, as well, I don't care what anyone says. In my opinion, guys, this movie is the last Terminator movie. And even James Cameron said to himself that Terminator was only intended to be 2 movies. And yeah, because this movie, guys, you can think of it as being like an epilogue to the first movie, just set years later where John's a child. And I like to consider it that way, really. Because, in my opinion, the first movie and the second movie are both masterpieces, and anything else after it, not so much at all. So yeah. Like, because this movie didn't even set up any sequels, guys, at all. You know, they didn't give any hints to all the sequels we've got since at all. So yeah, like, I just didn't, you know, I didn't see the point of doing sequels after this movie, because in my opinion, this movie gave a beautiful ending where Skynet was destroyed, Cyberdyne was blown up, and Miles Dyson was sacrificed himself to allow Skynet to be destroyed from existence. And yeah, like, I think Miles' sacrifice is one of the best sacrifices in cinematic history, in my opinion, guys. And yeah, and it was executed very well. And yeah, like, and I hate the idea of sequels to this because it means that Miles Dyson died for nothing. So yeah, and that proves to be true in the sequels, yeah, because they basically made his sacrifice pointless. Because Skynet came back, of course, in the next film, which was released 12 years after this one, Rise of Machines, which we'll get to in the review for that. So yeah. Because even though I did like Rise of Machines, I consider it to be underrated action movies, same with Salvation. I think they're both unnecessary movies, and especially Terminator Genesis and Dark Fate, because I hate those movies now, guys, when I look back at them. So yeah. Like, this movie is where it should have ended, guys. And also, I like how the extended version of the movie also gives a much bigger closure than the one in the movie. Because after the scene where Sarah's driving on the highway making a speech saying that if a machine can learn the value of human life, we can too. A very great quote, in my opinion, guys. A very memorable quote. I like how it then shows a time jump to a future where Sarah is an old lady and she's watching John, and now as an adult, playing with his children in a playground. The same playground, you know, from the opening, just in the future. And she's recording a voice message. Like, that was just perfect, in my opinion, guys. They gave her great closure, same with John as well. You know, no war. And they referred to every day after Judgment Day as a gift. So yeah, so this movie, in my opinion, guys, gave closure to a franchise, and there was no need for any follow-ups at all, in my opinion. So yeah, like it gave us such a very beautiful ending, and yeah. So that's why, guys, I consider this to be the last Terminator movie in the canon. Everything else, in my opinion, no, not canon to me at all. No way. Oh yeah. And so yeah, now speaking of a scene, guys, where Sarah is impersonated by T-1000 to try and kill John. What's cool about scene, guys, is that they did not use two Linda Hamiltons in that scene. They actually used her twin sister. Rest in peace, probably, because she passed away in 2020. So yeah, rest in peace to her. To play another Sarah, which was actually very cool, guys, how he did that. And, you know, it's hard to tell the difference between them. And, yeah, so he did a very good job with that. And another example of twins, guys, is also the scene where T-1000 kills a security guard at the mental hospital where Sarah's staying. And, yeah, because there's a security guard getting a cup of coffee from a vending machine. And, yeah, he gets a full house according to the puzzle on it, which is something that he seemed happy about. But he turns around to see himself looking at him. And, yeah. So that wasn't the same actor, guys. It was actually his twin brother, which is actually pretty awesome, guys. I did love having they included twins in this, yeah, and it worked so well because I couldn't really tell the difference between the two actors. It's pretty cool, and yeah. When it comes to the hospital itself, guys, wasn't really a fan of that security guard who wears glasses, who was, you know, responsible for putting Sarah in her bed because, yeah. Didn't like how, you know, he licked her face because she was, you know, sat there in her bed still, not making a sound or saying anything or literally moving at all. And yeah, he licked her face because she was defenseless. But yeah, it was, however, really satisfying when she got the end of like a broomstick and she beat him up with it, yeah. Because he definitely had it coming for, you know, what he did, yeah. That was definitely an unnecessary thing to do, in my opinion, how he licked her face, like, oh, God. But yeah. It was satisfying when she did that to him, but absolutely. Because, yeah, that annoyed me a little bit. But, yeah, it was satisfying when I see what she did, yeah, afterwards. And, yeah. So, like I said, guys, in my opinion, this movie is a masterpiece. My favourite action movie of all time. And, yeah, and definitely one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion, guys. I just really love this movie very much. And, yeah. And I can't ever stop rewatching it because it's my favourite action movie of all time. It's just absolutely incredible in everywhere. Yeah. And yeah, and in my opinion, guys, the franchise truly ended with this movie. Because everything after this movie, in my opinion, just didn't work, to be honest. Even though there were some good ones, they just weren't. They were nowhere near as great as the first movie or this movie. Because these movies are both masterpieces, in my opinion. It's like Alien, guys, because the first two Alien movies were masterpieces. And they got some pretty bad sequels, and yeah. And some decent prequels, but in my opinion, they were as good as the first two Alien movies, but yeah. The same could be part of this, yeah, because the second movie and the first movie are probably the only best ones of this franchise, and yeah, definitely in my opinion, and yeah. Anyway, guys, so this was me doing my review for Terminator 2, Judgment for action movie of all time. So, guys, if you want to give this movie out of 10, well, guys, because I adore this movie very much, I consider it to be my favorite action movie of all time. I'll give this movie, guys, a flat out 10 out of 10. Yeah. If I could give it like a million out of 10, of course I would, but yeah, it's a specific 10 out of 10. But yeah, just a beautiful movie, guys, in every way. I just love this movie so much. Like, absolute masterpiece in every way. So, you know, drill, guys, be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to comment what you guys think of Terminator 2, if you also on it. If you haven't seen it already, please go watch it. It's an absolute masterpiece. You'll really love it, no regret about it, because you'll really love it. Also, be sure to join Team Plan by hitting subscribe for movies in the future. If you'd like to be a member, you can put on Peace Out or you can leave a description. And hasta la vista, baby.